Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Simran. I'm going to be moderating this amazing session that we have planned out for this evening. We'll get started fairly quickly, about in a minute or two. Just want to let everyone join in and give them a few minutes till we can get people on board. Yeah. So we'll get started. Thank you. Tuned in. Hi everyone. I hope you all are doing well, having a great day so far and a really great week as well. So officially, welcome to the second session of Signal. This is an online webinars and masterclass series hosted by the University of Dubai's Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Business Center. So today's session is all about agility, sort of a word we hear everywhere we go now. It's about agility in action when we talk about mindsets and models for navigating change. I'm so glad you could join us today for this session, because over the next hour, my hope is that we dive into what agility really means. So take away from the jargon and the buzzwords that we often hear thrown around in meetings nowadays, but look at agility as sort of a practical framework that helps shape how we lead, how we work, and how we build across different sectors. So a heads up, whether you're a founder or sort of a team lead or just a student that's figuring out the next steps, today's session will give you agility not as a tool to only move faster, but about delivering value faster, adapting better, and really leading through change. So we'll get right into it. We've brought together, if I may say so myself, 3 billion voices who sort of have a 360 approach to agility, right? They look at agility in different facets and different domains, and each of them brings their own expertise today. So I'll start by giving you a quick introduction of our lovely speakers, and then we'll get into it. So first up is Wasim Afzal. He's the founder of Platformance.io and Fast Ventures. So Wasim really leads at the intersection of marketing, tech, and business growth. He sort of has built over time data-driven solutions to scale brand growth in the MENA region. And today we'll hear from Wasim about how agile mindsets sort of show up in the real world and how these practical decisions using agility are made in big business decisions. Wasim, if you'd like to say hello to everyone and introduce yourself a little bit further.
Simran, thank you so much, first of all, for having me over. Good evening to everyone. I appreciate that everyone's taking the time out after work hours. I hope we'll make the next 60 minutes meaningful. Just a little bit about my background and my journey. I'm a hardcore media and agency professional, having spent 16 years on the agency side, 3 years on the tech side, and now scaling a bootstrap business that we call Platformance. In very simple terms, what we do is we connect consumers to brands in ways that are quite disruptive in its own nature, as in it's a pay-per-outcome model. And then Fast Ventures is our holding company. Fast is more than just a name for us, it's our DNA. It stands for Future Adaptive Specialist Teams. Our philosophy is to incubate and scale forward-looking entities that are better aligned with today's modern marketing needs, as well as today's ultra-connected consumers. That's me in a nutshell. I look forward to contributing to this discussion. Over to you, Simran.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Wasim. Really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Next up, I'd love to introduce Mariana Ricardo to everyone. She's the founder of what'snext.ae. Her business doesn't only focus on upskilling, but it really focuses on upskilling to bridge the gap between strategy and future solutions. Mariana is a former leader at companies such as IBM and TikTok, especially in the Middle East. She has a long tenure to prove that. But she's a recently founded entrepreneur herself. And she sort of looks at agility with that entrepreneurial lens, which is so unique to her because she has lived iteration, responsiveness, and experimentation through her journey. So thanks, Mariana, for being with us. If you want to say a quick hello to everyone who's joined in.
Great, thank you so much, Simran. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here today. It's part of my passion and mission to really bring Agile whenever I can, to be honest. So it's a great honor to be here today with Wasim, a fellow colleague from TikTok and a close friend of mine, and also Mona, who is part of Agile Middle East with me as well, and is trying to elevate Agile in the region. A bit background, I'm from Brazil. I've been here in the region for 11 years, and I've worked in corporate for 20 years. After 20 years, using my Agile mindset and framework, I took the bold move and became an entrepreneur. I'm here today to share a little bit about my experience and how Agile has been helping me to take my business forward. Appreciate everyone's time and looking forward to learn from my colleagues as well, and learn from all of you, in fact. So hopefully it's an interactive session that all of us can learn from. Thanks, Simran.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mariana. And finally, we have Mona Shawkroth, who is a thought leader and agile coach herself. Mona will sort of be a power force to consolidate our learnings today. She'll talk about agile as a systems thinking and systems view of agile through tools and methods, actually, and how they actually show up in teams with her experience of working with startups, governments, and so thank you, Mona, for being here with us and for sharing your expertise as an agile coach.
Thank you, Simran, for this opportunity. I'm happy to be here with you and my colleagues, Mariana and Wasim. Yeah, as Mariana said, we have passion to spread Agile. That's why we met at the Agile Middle East. So I have been doing this in Arabic in Egypt back then, through YouTube and webinars. So it's part now, it's time to expand more globally. And yeah, I have worked with a lot of startups, government entities, corporates, and small companies. And there are patterns. There are patterns that we need to take care of, because every time I hear when I'm coaching a team or a company that this doesn't work with us, we have a different situation, we have a unique situation, but actually there is a pattern, and it can work, but we need to avoid workarounds, and we need to apply the agile mindset, which Mariana and Wasim will talk about a lot and share their experiences. And we need to be bold and try more. So that's what we are trying to do today, how to discover the pattern, how to try more, or just give simple tricks and case studies of what worked with us, and it may work with you as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mona. And I'm going to take you up on that offer of being bold and put you guys into this rapid fire icebreaker segment that we have. So really quickly, guys, before we get into the sort of theories and a little bit more of the expert stuff, I just want the audience to get a little bit of a, say, peek into your mindset and how you think, right? So don't spend too much time. It's not that deep. These questions are just to understand how you think. But I'll start with Wasim. So Wasim, I was wondering, if you're leading a very small team who has a very big idea, as most teams do these days, right? What do you think is going to be your biggest challenge? Is it direction, feedback, or pace when you manage that team?
It's all of the above, right? It's all of the above, but I think what really matters the most is where would you rank them up in your priority set? Because I think the emergence of technology and AI, to be specific, means that speed to market must be a lot more faster than what it was a few years ago. So speed is an important ingredient in what we do as a business. Right direction is equally important, right? I think it's such an understated parameter in any organization or startup, where if there is no direction and that's not mapped out clearly, and if people don't know what success looks like, what the North Star is, that's an equally important piece as well. So I think when we look at all of these things that you talked about, speed with intention for us becomes a very, very important driver of whatever outcomes or North Star that we may be chasing. So that for me would be my answer.
Perfect. No, thanks for that. I think that speed for intention is a great way to put it, for sure. Mariana, very quickly then, do you tend, working on that, do you tend to trust your plan more or your instinct more?
To be honest, nowadays, I believe it's both.
Okay.
When I started my career, it was more plan focused than intuition focused, especially because I was new to the field, new to the industry, new to the market. Traditionally, whenever jump into something new, I like to have a very structured plan just to guide me. But I've been, especially on the last year, rallying on my intuition as well, and giving myself more time to stop and reflect. I'll share a little bit on my sharing that I apply Agile's practices and framework to my own way of living. And this has been tremendously helped me to get the unknown and the feeling of synchronicity to the table. But it's something that you need to, at least in my case, I need to train a little bit to listen to both.
For sure. No, I'm waiting also for my instinct to kick in. So it's a great curve if you've reached there, right? And Mona, I think you work with teams day in and day out, right? In your experience, what slows teams down the most? Is it unclear goals? Is it last minute changes? Or is it something that we all do, which is too many meetings?
Well, I think the most thing is the unclear goals, because unclear goals makes everyone work in a different direction. So it's like a team, in a boat and rowing, and each one is rowing in a different direction. You won't move anywhere. But meetings could waste time and could make people slow, but not to that extent. And this is an easy thing to fix, unless you can fix the meeting or you can remove it. This is easy to fix, but the unclear goal is the most important thing. The other thing is that something that we all work with and we all focus on is psychological safety and team ownership. So
Sure.
Yeah, this is very important. If I cannot speak my mind, if I'm afraid to share mistakes, or I'm afraid to share my what I don't know, this will keep all problems hidden until it shows up later, when it's not good to show up. So that's the thing that mainly unclear goals, team psychological safety, and team ownership. But all other things can be fixed easily.
Perfect. No, thank you. Thank you for that. And we'll learn more about how you do that in your teams, in your section. Looking forward to that. So to kick things off, before we get into Wasim's expertise and his section, I have a little bit of interactive question for the audience here. So just feel free to scan the QR code and join in to give us your thoughts. It's to contextualize sort of what you perceive agility to be. There's no right or wrong. It is anonymous, so don't agility. And Mariana, Wasim, Mona, if you want to sort of say something that speaks out to you as well, feel free to. Okay, so we have efficiency. That's interesting. Okay, we have some in the chat as well, which is fine. Flexibility was one. Thanks, Nicola, for that. React. Oh, responsive like rugby. That's an one. Innovation, adaptability, proficiency, quite a few there. Having multiple options, okay. Amazing. Okay, so I think we have a few technical words that are used in frameworks and few sort of feelings of what agility feels or looks like for people, which is amazing. We appreciate that. We'll go on to hearing from Wasim then. If you want to kick this off by giving us your story with agility, please.
Sure. I think I'll start off by talking a little bit about a fun fact about me. Right? I've never sat in on any program, any trainings that talk about agility as a concept. I've not been in on any training sessions. But over the past 22 years, there are certain fundamentals in my life that I've been governed by. And therefore, I thought it would be important for me to talk about my story as an entrepreneur, my story as a founder, because I think we carry out certain logos and titles throughout our professional careers. But what really differentiates our progression through the career is really who we are as an individual, right? So when my path crossed with Mariana back at TikTok between 2019 to 22, that's when I got obviously exposed to some of the frameworks, some of the programs to really understand how do we scale teams, especially when we were at TikTok, because probably TikTok is one of the very few organizations that grew very aggressively in a virtual setting globally. So I think I wanted to touch upon that there are certain things that are very fundamental to any founder or any leader's success. And for me, one of the things was obviously belief is far more important. I think everyone is quite ambitious relative to their context, relative to their circumstances, but everyone comes into the context with ambition. But belief sometimes is lacking, right? And I think it's important for one to have that belief as long as they know that they're solving the right problems to be solved for, regardless of what industry they may be in, what country they may be in, and so on. Second thing is the support infrastructure, right? Whether that comes from your family, it comes from your friends, or it comes from the colleagues that you bring in on your journey, because I think that support structure gives you the permission to fail. Often it's a fear of failure that really stops us from challenging the status quo, from doing things that we believe should be done, and so on. And then the third piece is around sometimes as founders, we try to perfect a value proposition or a product before we take it into the market. And therefore, progress is far more important than achieving that perfection. And progress can only happen when you build a level playing field of surrounding yourself with people who are not driven by egos, where politics is not part of the equation. So we've got a zero tolerant policy at Platformers, at Fast Ventures, where I took a call, right? When I walked away from large corporate organizational structures, I wanted to make sure that we focused on people. 60 to 70%, if not more, is really down to the people that you bring in on your journey and the people that you surround yourself with. People who have a shared value system, people who have a very consistent way of enabling the clients and other teams and so on. And that's important because for us as a founder, right? Often people ask me, Wasim, one of the things that really holds startups back is how can a founder transfer their vision into the people they bring in on the journey? And for me, it's less about aligning people with the vision, which is obviously equally important, but it's more about transferring my energy as a founder of a company onto people around me. If I could have 60 to 70% of the people around me operating at the same energy, same intensity, with the same intention that I do, I think we can grow a lot more disproportionately with the time than otherwise. And last but not least, it's okay to fail, right? It's okay to learn as we go along. So very recently, about 3 to 4 months ago, we rolled out an initiative called Mistake of the Week, where we encourage people to come forward and talk about mistakes, which is not just, which is not focused on, spotlighting the mistakes or pointing fingers at people. It is to really create a forum where it's okay to make a mistake. And I'm the first one to say, last week I made this mistake, so that we can create this culture of vulnerability. We're all humans. The pace at which we operate on, it is only very natural for us to make mistakes. So these are for me like some of the most important, often not spelled out attributes that are very critical to any company's, any startup's, success. And and I think all of this is helping us grow so aggressively that we have received no outside funding. We've grown to a team of 140 people across different geographies in the region, and we're continuing to grow 2x quarter in, quarter out. And I strongly attribute a lot of these principles that I've carried forward throughout my 20 years in business as one of the biggest drivers of success for us. I can go on for this, but I know that we are all constrained on time, so I'll pass it on to. Oh, I've got more going on there.
Yes, you do. You do. No, I think
All
I think
right.
it's a perfect segue into like the platformance mindset, right? Which you were talking about. And if you want to run us through this little diagram that really encapsulated all.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So look, for the first year and a half of our journey, we never had an HR person. We never had a talent acquisition person. We had none of that. I would reach out to Mariana. I would reach out to people that I would be comforted by to understand and get the validation of what we are doing. But there are certain principles, there are fundamentals that we want to do right and we want to act upon, right? From my experience, what we used to do in my previous life would be spend less time on bringing people into the organization and spend more time on developing them and training them and so on. However, I believe that if we could get the right person with the right attitude, with the right motivation into an organization, that they will come in and become your impact players. So for us, there are 4 H's that everyone in the organization knows that we go by, right? These are obviously softer attributes for us. But if you were to look at and speak to any one of our 140 people across markets, you would see some of these traits, coming out quite loud and out, right? Hustler as a mindset is important for us, right? Because in any organization, given that you're not funded, given that you are looking at metrics like cash flow management, your runway, and all of that stuff, it's important for everyone to come in with that mindset of a hustler, right? Solve problems and deliver results or impact. Humility is important for growth, right? For the first year and a half, I had no C-suite on the structure. I had no GMs. I had no directors and above that we invested in. We brought in a lot of young people, people from different industries, different backgrounds, and we instilled humility as an important trait. Although, I mean, in most cases, people either you're humble or you're not humble, right? But we prioritized humility because the we over me philosophy was extremely important to drive cross-functional synergies for us. Hunger, right, is an equally important trait. You could be very good in your craft, you could be at the top of your game, but if you're not hungry to continue to grow, continue to evolve, that obviously raises a huge knock-on effect on people around you. And last but not least, honesty, right? Honesty is around just being transparent. You could have a bad quarter, you could have a bad week, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunities to turn yourself around. So having those kind conversations with one another are equally important. I get the cue, Simran. I'll paste this up very, very quickly. But I think that the gist of what I'm getting to is that we've made more correct decisions on our hiring than anywhere else in the organization. And if I look at the construct of these 140 people across markets, I invested in people who one would call misfits, right? People that come from very different backgrounds. If I look at my talent acquisition manager, she used to be a DJ in a previous life. If I look at one of the guys in our sales function, that they used to be a chef, right, through COVID times. So we've invested in people with very different backgrounds, but we've been betting on the mindset. We've been betting on their motivation and their hunger, right? If someone comes in with this mindset that they can move mountains and they can drive impact, then everything else becomes quite easy to manage, right? As long as they remain coachable. So I mean, that for me is our journey. I know that we're still 1% of where we want to be as a business, but these people around me are the ones who are contributing to our success and is helping us disrupt in our own very little way the ad market in the MENA region.
No, thank you so much for that, Wasim. And more than a cue, I think this is my favorite slide, if I may say so, because for me, especially for the students that are watching, it's such a testament that you sort of brought out examples of how agility doesn't only guide someone in an organization, but also you as your career pathway, right? The DJ turned HR or the chef turned sales development manager is a very promising idea for us as we also move into the gig economy, right? And we start to do many roles as people. So love the examples, and thanks so much for sharing that journey with us. I think we all can be inspired by building a company from scratch. So perfect. I'm gonna now go into the second section where Mariana talks again about building entrepreneurship through this agile mindset. We'll sort of start again with a little bit of an interactive element from the audience to understand what you associate with agility. So we got some words in the section, which is amazing. I think all really fit the bill. But if you can join the Slido and rank or choose which statement you most associate with agility, that'll be perfect. I'm going to read them out as well. So we have getting things done faster. We're responding quickly to feedback, being flexible with our plans, making decisions without full certainty, something that we're all in the middle of, I guess, and delivering value earlier. So let's see what ranks we get here. It's also interactive in the sense that please use the chat in the Zoom sort of call if you want to drop in a comment as well. There's no rules here. It seems that everyone is being flexible with plans. Okay. Amazing. Okay, so we have a few. Mariana, would you now like to sort of take this and give us your idea of what you've associated with agility the most as an entrepreneur and also as an expert in agile practices, please?
Sure. So before I go through some thoughts, I want to acknowledge three things that Wasim shared now that truly resonate to the professional that I know that he is since back TikTok. And I truly believe that this is very important for entrepreneur, which is ego-free mindset, energy transfer as something very important from a founder to the entire team, and vulnerability. was saying, I love these three aspects. And I just want to share something with all of you before I go through what I planned earlier. I was 2 weeks ago, it's a little story. I was 2 weeks ago in UK as part of the Embassy of the Future Council kickoff. This is a first of a kind global initiative bringing together futurists globally to build the world's 2070 agenda. All right, so I'm part of this initiative and I was there with a few colleagues. The first meeting that we had, nobody knew each other, number one. The agenda was also revealed in details for us during the event. But the first activity that we did, I will never forget. We were told, leave your ego outside, leave your badge outside. I've spent 5 days with global leaders, leading blockchain, leading AI, leading Bitcoin, without knowing their titles, knowing about their titles only during breaks and a few sessions. So this set the tone of the community roots. So Wasim, I love that you share that because I truly believe that this is one of the foundations of a good entrepreneur. So a little bit about me, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm from Brazil, UA lover. I love this country, I love this region. I came here initially for 2 years as international assignment within IBM. And then here I am 11 years later talking to you. I started my career right after the university in IBM. I've worked for IBM for 16 years globally between Latin America, here in the region, and a few global projects. After IBM, I left IBM and I joined TikTok. I've worked for TikTok for 3 years. And then here I am as an entrepreneur and founder of What's Next. My entire career, 20 years in corporate, I worked with upskilling people and agility. Agile was, just to set the expectation, Agile is a framework and methodology by the book, created 25 years ago by some project managers globally who really want to challenge the way that project management has been taken so far. So there is even Agile manifesto built then with some values and principles for people to follow. Okay. To me, Agile was introduced when I was still in IBM. IBM was going through a huge internal transformation, cultural transformation, and they want to become more Agile. So they identified ambassadors globally to be trained in Agile and to cascade the framework and the methodology within their teams and countries. I was one of them. And but I've never worked as Agile coach and practitioner. I am a business person who truly believes on Agile and have been implementing since then. Fasting forwarding my experience with Agile, nowadays I'm part of Agile Middle East with Mona, and I've been bringing the methodology and the framework forward. The Agile for me is much more than a methodology. It's a philosophy. So whoever knows me well understand that I believe on this so much that I apply the mindset and framework on my own way of living. And I want to share a little bit about you in practice, how I do that. And I'm more than happy to take the details forward. So as I mentioned, I started, and I have here a timeline very quickly to illustrate this. I was introduced to Agile 7 years ago as a methodology, another training, let's see what happens. And that training that I've been through was one of the best training that I've been in my life, because it was not because it was a 1 week training in New York. Of course, 1 week training in New York is very good, but we were introduced to the Agile way of living and thinking by heart, which means we understood the methodology by applying the methodology. So we painted in Agile way, we built puzzles, we built projects, we did a lot of teamwork using Agile. And I found it so powerful that I said, okay, I truly believe in this way of thinking and living, but to become ambassador is a different story. Okay, I came back home, I said, all right, now I have the mission on top of my responsibility in IBM. I was enablement leader there here in the region. I said, okay, now I needed to influence people to embark on this Agile journey with me. Then what I did was at that time, and I transparently say that I was new to the region, I've got a new team, culturally speaking, I was adapting. I've got a lot of challenges, new people manager in the region. I've got a lot of challenges in terms of bringing people together around my agenda, around the learning and development strategy that I need to develop and deploy. I asked an Agile coach to come from Global and said, listen, I'm not working as Agile person. I don't apply Agile framework on the way that I lead my team. Things are not working. Can you please help me reset the way that I lead people? And then the person accepted the challenge. He came, he organized a program, a workshop, and he has coached me for a few months through that transformation. I found it so powerful, so powerful. And I felt by heart the value of changing my mindset and bringing some rituals to the way that I was leading the team and the projects, that I said, okay, now I feel comfortable sharing this with people. And since then, I started carrying on. It was so powerful that I told myself, I will never be a people manager with the old framework anymore, because the old framework does not work for me. And then when I joined TikTok, again, I went to TikTok to build the enablement upskilling strategy for TikTok. It was nothing to do to Agile, but I told the leader that time, I said, listen, I can bring to the table something else. And I started doing some experiments, and Wasim knows that, organized some workshops, the teams and the leaders that were more open, I brought Agile, and we've done a few very interesting things here in the region and globally later. When I left TikTok to build my own upskilling company, it was not meant to be an Agile company. It was meant to be an upskilling company. This is my field. This is my passion. This is what I've been doing for 15 years. This is how I want to scale in the market my knowledge. However, I started being invited by people to share my experience with Agile leadership. And I started doing naturally in HR summits and in conferences. And things started getting to proportion that I said, well, let me investigate what's happening industry-wise. I came across to Agile Middle East. I joined the Global Agile Alliance, and then start sharing my passion across the board. When I joined TikTok, when I left TikTok to build my own company, I had my passion, my vision, and my mission very clear, but I didn't know that path to get. I've never been an entrepreneur in my entire life. What I did was, and this is related to this reference case that I'm bringing to you, I said, listen, if Agile is a framework and a mindset so powerful to build projects, lead teams, I will apply that to myself. I will build my company in Agile mindset and framework. And then what I started doing was I said, okay, where I want to be in 1 year. I built, and whoever knows me nowadays, I coach people in Agile. I built my magazine cover. Where I want to be in a year. This is my goal. How will I get there? Well, with Agile framework and mindset. So I started working cycles and apply some rituals to myself. So nowadays, I live with this framework. So I have my plan, I have my business plan, and every 2-3 weeks, I stopped, I do retrospective, I do celebration with myself, because I found it very powerful for others. Why not to do that for myself? So due to applying this due to building and launching my company with Agile framework and mindset, I ended up launching my company 6 months earlier than what was initially planned as per my business plan, because I stopped to reflect, identify the opportunities, and said, no, it's time to do it. Now it's time to do it. And yeah, this is a little bit about my story with Agile, my experience, and over to you, Siram.
Thanks so much, Mariana. I think you know this, but every time I leave our conversations, I'm inspired and I learn something new. So thank you for sharing that with our audience today. It's great to see you build what next from, you know, not only Agile, but a lot of risk taking and courage as well. So thank you for sharing that. Now we go into Mona's section. So Mona, I'm very excited for you to talk about how we can build the models and methodology of Agile. But I think you pose a very good question to our audience before we get into that, which is, what is the difference between doing Agile and being Agile? This is sort of an open-worded question, so you can, you know, just type in your statements using the code on Slido. Wasim, Mariana, if you would also like to give your two sort of sense about this entire topic, please let us know.
I mean, for me, I think a lot of you know, the guiding principle for us is the practice. It's the action that we see. It's the outcomes over processes. So being agile is when you're actually sort of, you know, acting upon it versus doing agile because this has been what has been forced onto you or has been enforced as a process and so on. But when you're agile as your construct of an individual or for a team or for an organization, that becomes your DNA. That becomes the way you operate, the way you you know, conduct yourself and so on. So that for me is a very fine line, but that's a huge difference between successful organizations versus organizations that would typically go through that learning curve over a much longer period of time. So yeah.
Perfect. I really appreciate that. I think people have resonated and said so. I think Nicola said you live it and you just don't dip in and out. That's the difference. We have planning versus results. So yeah, I think we have some clear thoughts, but Mona, if you want to guide us through this difference between being Agile and doing Agile with your slides, that would be amazing.
Yeah, well, let's go for the next slide. So here I am the methodology person and I'm the framework person. I'm the one who have been doing this for the last like 10 years or so. So yeah, I do teach the frameworks. I do love Scrum. I see that the frameworks are the way that we don't reinvent the wheel. So being agile is very important, starting with the mindset, with the values, with the principles, as Mariana and Wasim said before. So this is the main foundation of agility, the mindset and the spirit and how you live it, as we said. But for me, starting with this could be hard to get the process up and get the right practices. And it also that what I've seen while coaching companies and people is that they have to unlearn a lot. So many people, when they're trying, okay, I'm going with agile mindset, but they're new to this mindset. So they end up doing some workarounds for their old mindset. So that's how we use the practices and methods. We instill the mindset, we talk about the mindset, and we remind people with it every now and then. But the frameworks are here to help us not reinvent the wheel. These people have been doing this stuff for like 30 years now, and we can learn from them. But again, the main focus is on the mindset. So if you find yourself focusing on the framework, not on the mindset, then it's not agile, it's not working. But see how you can use the framework to apply the mindset and see how the framework will challenge you to apply the mindset. That's it. So that's my part here. And again,
Sorry.
let's
Yeah.
let's stay here.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
So and again, the frameworks are not bad. You just need to choose the right framework and be consistent to apply it and unlearn and know the value of the framework, know how it contributes to applying the agile mindset and how it contributes to the value, and then go with the framework for a while. For me, with any new team, you need like 3 trials, 3 sprints to get things familiar with the team and to get the team to really apply agile. Before this, they would be frustrated. They would don't understand whatever is done. They don't like the meetings, and everything is a mess. I know, but just be patient and be bold, and it will work for you. Next.
Sure.
Okay. So here I want to share a case study or like a methodology or a way that I use to make sure that we are applying agile in a project. For me, agile is about having different options. Then you can be flexible and you can be available to change and you can be adaptable to change. So in this case, you need just to have different ways of different plans, like plan A, plan B, plan C, or you just need to be able to navigate the change. So here, the first thing is that I use story map for this. I use story map to see my end-to-end value. And this is very important while you're applying Agile. You need to see the end-to-end value. It's not about applying sprints as time or as scope. It's not gonna work. So you need to see the end value and what are you going to deliver? What are you going to deliver fast? I have a situation, and we're lucky this happened this morning with a project I was coaching. Although they are a governmental project, they wanted to try applying Agile and they just got their phases and put it into sprints. And I told them, no, we're not putting phases into sprints and call it Agile. We're trying to deliver faster and deliver more. So tell me, what are the valuable deliverables of your project? What is the end-to-end user scenario that you're trying to do? What really delivers value that if we cut off the project right now, we will have value delivered in the project. So this is the first part. Plan your deliverables. Story maps is very good for scenarios like mobile apps, like things that have a full user scenario, a full user journey. And the tricky part here is that you need just to start with the working skeleton. You need to start with the minimum. They call it sometimes the MVP, minimum viable product. And then start iterating and applying more. Here you have options, like I can switch third release and second release according to priorities. I can switch all the items that I planned for the fourth release there. So I used this with multiple teams and multiple startups, and I had a nice gesture from sales manager was working with a product. He told me that you made it like a puzzle. I can switch things whenever I want. So he was happy with this. Before we work it in this way, he just used to fight with the technical team because he wants things faster, and they fight back because they cannot do this. So he was happy with the plan, with the puzzle, that he can work things out according to the leads that he have and the client that he is trying to approach and these stuff. So that's, I know it's a very high level and that's a little bit, but it's very important to plan your deliverables. It's not just about putting your work in sprints, it's about delivering faster. So you have to think, what is my deliverable, what provides value, and put it as fast as you can. The last part, because we mentioned this a lot, the mindset, being humble, being vulnerable. As I am the framework person again, I do have a Udemy course about this, and I'm happy to share a gift coupon with all the attendees here. I think I can share it with on the chat, and I will share it with you also, Simran, so you can articulate later. Okay?
Yes, that would be very, very kind, and thank you for that, Mona. And I think all of you can also put your LinkedIn's in the chat if you'd like to, if you don't mind people reaching out. I know today is a short session and we do have some time though for a Q&A. And Mona, just before
I'm
we go
happy
into
for
the
this.
Q&A, yeah, I just want to say thank you for that. And I think it really helps give examples where Agile is not used in only a tech and product development situation. So it is used in other sort of projects, and those misconceptions that you guided us through. Thank you for that. And I think it'll add a lot of value to the diversity of the group we have. So we have everyone's LinkedIn on sort of the group, the speakers. And now we can move into Q&A. So please feel free to use the Zoom chat, or maybe even if you're comfortable enough, unmute yourself, put your video on, whatever works for you guys. But we have Wasim, Mona, and Mariana for a bit more today to share their insights and answer any questions you may have to relate to this topic. While we wait for the audience questions, I actually have a question, if that's okay, and anyone can take it. But I guess we spoke about things like adaptability, efficiency, things like that, right? But what is one skill, I'm wondering, you think goes very hand in hand with Agile? It could be a business skill or a non-business skill, but maybe one or two skills that are complementary to Agile, if someone wants to take that, and then we'll get into the audience questions.
Should I go?
Go.
All right. Okay. So I think Mariana touched upon the importance of feedback loops, right? That one can incorporate as part of processes to ensure that there is accountability, to ensure that we're all steering forward meaningfully and so on. But when sharing feedback with one another in high pressure environments, in high pressure, high performing teams, sometimes people may not have the time to be able to sugarcoat feedback, right? There are no filters that may be applied when feedback is given. So that skill set that needs to be developed is the ability to take feedback in its raw form and continue to power through, right, in a high pressure project. Because often all that needs to be done is you could have a high performing individual who's consistently smashing their OKRs, and they could find themselves in a tricky project where they're not able to bring the A game. How does one then give that feedback that could be very harsh at face value, but it is good for the development? And I think this is such an understated skill that needs to be developed by having those one-on-one conversations with individuals to develop that thick skin to receive feedback in its truest, form, so that they can, become better and ensure that they're not making the same mistakes in future projects and so on.
I think I appreciate that. Mariana, do you have anything to add?
No, I love this, and especially because not everyone, culturally speaking, understands feedback on the same way. So it's very important to not take it personal, but take the gift of receiving an input, right? That is aligned to your values and your needs, and apply as per what you think. In my case, I would also add, Simran, going back to your question, what is the other skill that is needed? It's very important to understand what success looks like. Not understand, but reflect, right? Because definition of success, definition of value can change throughout the journey, right? But stop, reflect about what it really means for you, for a company, for a project. I think it's very important because even as part of the Agile framework and methodology, you know that you achieve if you think in advance where you want to be. It does not mean that you need to know in the response and the framework in advance, but you need to have a starting point, right? To guide your company, to guide your project, to guide your principle. So this foundational part of reflection, what success look like and what value means for you, I think it's very important in any process and
Yeah, no, I think those two connect so beautifully, those feedback loops and reflecting as to what success looks like for you. They're incomplete without each other as well. And maybe agility sits right in the middle of them if I'm sort of drawing up a Venn diagram in my mind. We have another question. It's for Hussein, please. So Hussein Hamdan asks, tell me about the last time, you had to change direction fast. What triggered it and how did your team respond?
All right. Hossein is actually one of my employees. He's an absolute star in the team. So this is by no means any planted question. Hossein, thank you for this. Look, I think this was as recent as this weekend, that involved Hossein's team, where we took on a project more than what we could have delivered, but we had the belief that if there is one team that could actually execute that project for that, scalability, which was around 500 influencers in less than 4 weeks across different geographies, different time zones, and so on. And it was important for the team. There were about 8 odd people that were working on this project, including the weekend. It was important for the team to understand that the leader of the pack was equally involved in the project. So I stayed up with the team until 3, 4 in the morning through the course of the project. We ran into a lot of hurdles, which meant that we needed to keep finding alternative options, right? I think the mentality that we're trying to develop amongst the team is to not take no for an answer. If plan B does not work, let's move to plan C. If plan C does not work, plan D. So I think we kept iterating, right? We had a vision, we had a North Star to get to, but the method kept on iterating, which was trying out different options, pulling in people, from different teams and functions and geographies, reaching out to different stakeholders to be able to do it. So this innate ability to remain so obsessed with the North Star and then continue to bring in people who you believe can deliver on the commitment that we have made to our client. I think that was a good learning curve for us. Often we win, often we lose. But what really matters the most is whether the teams remain united or not. And I think that was just another campaign of the team demonstrating to the rest of the teams that they won together. And that's how winning as one looks like.
Perfect. No, thank you. Thank you, Asim, and thank you, Hussein, for getting us the opportunity to learn about that example. I think it's great. We have Nicola, who I'm not too sure if this is a question, but from what I understand, it's sort of a feedback and a suggestion to bring Emirati speakers. And for sure, Nicola, we're working on putting some future panels together that are both local and global as well, and really Signal and our innovation, entrepreneurship and business department at UD sits in the middle of government, academia and industry. So the first 2 sessions were focused on workplaces and how to navigate change. And the future ones will be around deep tech and sustainability. So we'll continue to have diverse panels. I think we're right on the clock for 7:30. I will invite everyone to join our WhatsApp group, using the QR code. We do have a few more sessions planned out for the month of August and September till we all can get through the tough summertime here in the UAE. And then we'll be back to hopefully learning from great experts like Mona, Wasim, Mariana in person as well, in the new academic year at University of Dubai. So stay connected on WhatsApp. Any parting thoughts, or have I missed anything? Wasim, Mona, Mariana, thank you once again, genuinely. Right in the middle of the week, you guys helped us with our midweek slump. You helped me for sure, I know that. So thanks for sharing your expertise and making the time. And yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Perfect. Thank you. You as well.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.